Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Colorado Water Conservation Board November meeting will come back to order. We stood in recess overnight. I want to welcome you all here today for this very I had a big word I was going to use here. I can't remember what it was. A very important day. But we are glad that you're all here. You all have participated and really helped put this water plan together. So today we're going to begin with taking up agenda item 22. Becky Mitchell and staff, we have a fancy table here for you all.
We decided to change it up a little for the big occasion.
Great. Becky, you have the mic.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Rebecca Mitchell. This is agenda item number 22. In front of you, you have the CWCB water supply planning, some of the section. I have with me Jacob Bornstein, Brent Newman, and Kate McIntyre here to present Colorado's first water plan for acceptance by the board. Back in May of 2013, when the governor's former deputy counsel presented to this board the charge to write a water plan by December 10th of 2015, it was met with excitement, a bit of trepidation by me, the staff, the agency, and I think I can even say some of you up there. We had no idea what we were about to embark on. Over the last 2.5 years, we've conducted the largest Colorado civic engagement effort in modern times. We produced initial, first, second, and now this final version to the board and Colorado stakeholders and public. We've incorporated over 30,000 comments. We met with, convinced, and even in some cases cajoled during hundreds of roundtable, IBCC, and stakeholder meetings. We've encouraged and supported the completing of the basin implementation plans, which have become an integral part of Colorado's water plan. We've worked to build statewide consensus on Colorado's water values, the conceptual framework, the conservation stretch goal, a new approach to permitting, an approach to garnering new funds, and also develop measurable objectives and actions for each area of the plan. If we follow this plan, I'm confident that we can meet our municipal and industrial gaps. We can address our environmental and recreational needs, and we can have a strong agricultural economy. We can also be prepared for climate change, a booming population, and increased pressure in agricultural lands. We can build more smart storage and recover imperiled species. And here's the kicker, we can do this in a way that protects the things that we value most in the state of Colorado. We also hope to continue to allow for strong local control while ensuring that we can provide future generations a state that maintains its beauty and environmental health, strong urban and rural communities and their ways of life, and food grown by Colorado farmers and ranchers. The governor asked for a plan that supports everybody, and many claim that this was an impossible task. As I look at the board in front of me, you're very representative of the people of the state of Colorado with different views and different emphasis and focus. We've been at this, not just the four of us, but our entire agency, members across the department, DNR, special thank you to the executive director's office, and we've extended out to DOLA and CDPHE for more than a decade. We've had a stakeholder process and a technical background made this a place that Colorado's water plan could happen, to walk the tightrope and end up with a balanced plan. There are implementation challenges, and the plan calls out the tough choices that we must make to maintain this balance. I'm confident that we have the will represented here in this room by all of our partners who have worked hard and built relationships to get this done. I'm going to hand this over to Jacob and Brent to go over some details in the plan. And then we have a little special surprise for you from Kate, of course.
Brent Newman, Colorado Water Conservation Board staff. One of the most remarkable things about this whole process has been the evolution of attitudes within the state to the water planning process that we kicked off in 2002 with the first WASI. In the summer of 2013, you heard some skeptics. You heard folks ask some uneasy questions about the guidance that was provided by staff for the basin implementation plans. Were the needs of the roundtables really going to be represented in the final plan? Would the priorities of the roundtables be apparent in December 2015? Or would they be steamrolled by other basins, other stakeholders, or the other side of the divide? Now here we are, and our roundtable members and stakeholders around the state cite their BIPs and the actions in the draft and now the final Colorado's Water Plan, in their WSRA applications, in interviews around the state, and in setting priorities for the roundtable implementation and the next steps over the upcoming years. In 2 years, we transitioned from excited apprehension to a very unique and very Colorado brand of ownership. That ownership is reflected in thoughtful comments, letters, and edits suggested to the public input process. I'm going to speak briefly about what's in chapters 1 through 6 and highlight the changes and how we handle various forms of public comment. We had a lot of comment on chapter 1. As the first chapter, it sets the tone for the full plan, and as a result should reflect the values and sense of collaboration that Colorado's Water Plan represents. We incorporated these comments and restructured the articulation of the challenges presented by planning for Colorado's water future. Chapters 2 and 3 had very little public comment, but minor changes were incorporated throughout based on the updated basin implementation plans and the work of the roundtables. There were several comments that asked for a more thorough explanation of the effects of climate change. Much of the technical work on this subject will be completed in the next iteration of SWASI, but we did augment the section on climate change in Chapter 4. Chapter 5 had very few comments, but was reorganized a bit for clarity. Chapter 6 had a few significant changes based on public comments received. Section 6.2 describes how the BIPs advance the statewide objective of closing water supply gaps. This section and the numbers within were updated and supplemented based on the final basin implementation plans. Section 6.3 describes M&I conservation and was updated with the aspirational stretch goal, which was unanimously supported at the IBCC. In 6.5, based on public comment and the work of the roundtables, the agricultural viability section was updated and expanded. Also based on public comment and the work of the roundtables, a new subsection on storage was added. This subsection expands on the role of storage as explored by the IBCC and the basin implementation plans. The measurable objective regarding storage is introduced, as well as the technical information which supports this objective. An action was revised in 6.6 based on public comment regarding broadened support for recreational uses and the role of the CWCB in supporting these needs. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jacob.
Good morning, members of the board, esteemed colleagues behind me and with me here at the table. Mostly I'm going to focus on comments related to chapters 7 through 11. But before I do, at the risk of being a little grandiose and perhaps a little overly sincere, I would like the board members to turn to the inside back cover in the plans you have before you, and we have it open here behind us. The Milky Way sets the backdrop for Mount Wilson and blanketed in snow, and in the foreground, where did that be? And in the foreground we have Rena McIntyre with a sign that reads, "I want a Colorado water plan that works when I'm 100. We've become a bit of a family here while forging the water plan, and we've had 3 new members during the course of making the water plan over the last couple years, my own daughter, Kate's son, and Taryn's son. And I just want to assure the members of the board and the public that we have been keeping future generations in mind, and the integrity of the plan and our work in the plan and your work in the plan, I am sure, includes that. We have had the task to work with stakeholders and look for the common threads that bind us, and I'm glad to say that this experiment in doing the largest civic engagement effort in Colorado has worked. There's more we have in common than we have differences, and I'm proud that the plan represents that. So moving on to what's different between this draft and the next. In Chapter 7, in response to some of the comments we received and also the events concerning abandoned mines in the Southwest, we included new actions related to cleaning up those abandoned mines in 7.1. In 8, We, of course, negotiated the conceptual framework. That conceptual framework received unanimous support at the Interbasin Compact Committee and various levels of support from each of the basin roundtables. That new agreement, or framework, I should say, is included in Chapter 8. When we move on to Chapter 9, I'm going to focus on 9.2 and 9.4. In 9.2, the funding section, we have been making the rounds, Tim and me and others, on how potential new funding could possibly work using the smallest amount possible. We now describe how that could work in the plan and have a figure that goes with that. In 9.4 on permitting, we have augmented that by clarifying how a new permitting process could work and included a figure that helps determine that. We have also modified some of the language based off of a lot of comments concerning the level of state support, clarified how state support could happen. Chapter 10. We received perhaps the largest amount of changes. We had many comments saying that we needed measurable objectives, that we needed to only focus on the most critical actions. In Chapter 10, we now have measurable objectives, and we now have just a couple dozen actions and goals related to some of those topics. And in Chapter 11, we have clarified that we are on a 6-year planning cycle. So I won't hold my breath for 2021, but that is the end of the plan. This is a living, iterative document. I'll turn it over to Kate.
So you get a sense of what you're in for when you take on a new role and people tell you good luck more than they tell you congratulations. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has." Well, as it turns out, it wasn't even just a small group. I don't think any one of us here today thought we'd be standing on this historic day thanking over 30,000 people who contributed to this plan. The inclusive nature of the plan is only successful because of the hard work of individuals like the PEPO education liaisons, the stakeholder groups, and other entities throughout the state who ensured their constituencies had a voice in development of the draft plan, the Water Resources Review Committee members who traveled the state to host public hearings in each basin, and members of the public who brought new passion and ideas for addressing old challenges into the discussion. Development of this plan has set the tone for the only way we can do water planning from this point forward, and that is to do it together. Over the past 2.5 years, the CWCB responded to every comment we received. All of that input and the responses are available online for your review. Becky, Jacob, and Brent went over the final round of comments and how those shaped the final draft. In the future, it's our hope that this spirit of collaboration does not end. Rather, we have a plan, and we're committed to making sure that it continues. So, beginning today, get ready. Any comment you have on the final plan will be considered. The website form and the email we set up remain open. They'll be taken into consideration. They'll be logged when the state chooses to develop the next Colorado's water plan. With that, I'd like to present to the board and the public here today a video about the water plan produced by the great Christy Bodie, who's also filming today. She's over there with a video camera. She has her own company called Moxicran Media, and she put this together. The script was written by our own Todd Hartman, who I have not caught his eye, but I'm hoping he's here. And I don't think I need to tell you who one of the narrators is. I'm sure you'll recognize his warm voice. And so please watch.
Since the first people came to what is now Colorado, Conveying water was a central focus to prehistoric Puebloans, to the Spanish, and to our more recent heritage of miners, ranchers, and farmers. And today, more than 1,000 years after the earliest efforts to manage water, it remains the sustaining element around which we organize our lives, environment, and society. It allows for green expanses and urban forests in our ever-growing towns and cities. Its powerful movement creates electricity and has made much of our semi-arid state a veritable breadbasket of agriculture. Water is at the very heart of what makes Colorado the envy of the world.
But Colorado's water is under strain. The very appeal of our great state brings more people eager to share its lifestyle. More demand for water to grow food, to irrigate lawns, to produce energy, and for household needs is creating unprecedented water challenges. And changing climate may further limit water supply. Scientists suggest this may lead to longer or deeper droughts. Fire, in turn, threatens our water supplies and damages our water quality. Water planning in Colorado centers on one primary fact: natural water supplies have not aligned with human settlement patterns. Much of Colorado's water falls on the west side of the Continental Divide, while at least 80% of the state's population lives on the east side. Colorado moves water from the west to the east to meet the demands of the Front Range. All told, Colorado uses about 1/3 of its water in agriculture, city supplies, and industrial purposes. But much of the rest is required by legal agreements to flow downstream to other states. These physical and legal constraints on our water use, along with population growth and what is expected to be wide variability in future precipitation, will leave Colorado with a major water supply gap that by some calculations could be a shortfall of water for over 1 million people by mid-century.
In 2013, Governor John Hickenlooper issued an executive order calling on Colorado to develop a strategic plan to address these growing strains on our state's water. Colorado's water plan charts a new course, one that emphasizes collaboration, cooperation, and community. It focuses on solutions by setting measurable objectives. This plan offers a strategic vision for a dynamic economy that supports vibrant and sustainable cities, productive agriculture, a flourishing environment, and a world-class recreation industry. Colorado's water plan grows out of the largest civic engagement exercise ever attempted here, formalized meetings within and between river basins. These basin roundtables brought competing interests from all walks of life face to face, again and again. Over time, suspicions gave way to listening, which gave way to relationships and trust. This grassroots project benefits from the participation of interests across the water community. It gleaned from an unprecedented deliberative process that opened water policy topics up for dialogue and plan to be improved over time.
The plan outlines actions in the realm of conservation, land use, agriculture, storage, and environmental management that puts Colorado on a course to addressing these shortfalls. It calls for improving the regulatory processes that can hinder flexibility and explores creative financial incentives that protect agriculture and advance critical water infrastructure projects. It outlines the values necessary for projects to attract state support. Projects that enhance the environment, provide recreation, increase supplies, and meet compact compliance. It safeguards Colorado's water by vigilantly protecting our interstate compacts and decrees. These provide certainty to Colorado and our neighbors on allocations of supply. Finally, the plan will continue to strengthen the vigorous efforts of outreach, education, and public engagement to equip Coloradans with the information they need to make informed water choices.
Colorado's water challenges are great and demand our united focus. That's why the plan relies heavily on the guidance of our river basins. Colorado has moved away from adversarial approaches to collaborating on water projects that benefit all partners by capitalizing on regional projects that tie our state together, both economically and hydrologically. And the plan calls for an active role from the Colorado Water Conservation Board in brokering agreements among parties on Trans Mountain water, a role informed by the state's conceptual framework and points to consensus recently assembled by the Basin Roundtables. Colorado continues to play a leading role in Western water. Other states, sovereign tribes, and the country of Mexico, among many others, watch Colorado and its headwaters closely. Our water challenges require us to all pull together, to become more agile in our approaches, and to seek solutions that benefit all of us.
Colorado's water plan reflects agreement from water interests statewide on broad, near-term actions needed to secure our water future with a balanced approach that protects our economy, our agriculture, recreation, and our environment. I want to thank those who attended over 1,000 Basin Roundtable meetings over the past 10 years and submitted comments, along with 30,000 others on this plan. Like our water, and those who've organized around it for many centuries, the plan, too, remains in motion.
Colorado's water plan is a living document of grassroots framework for a sustainable water future that will benefit generations to come.
Marley, wait just a second.
Colorado's water plan has proven water's not for fighting anymore, but whiskey's still for drinking. Here's the Colorado water.
I told you there'd be a surprise. So to work on Colorado's water plan has been a deep privilege for each of us sitting here, but it was not done alone. I would be remiss if I didn't thank all those people involved. First and foremost, your CWCB staff, that a lot of them are sitting behind me or still plugging away at the office, have maintained and kept this well-oiled machine going while a group of us have been primarily focused on the water plan. I wanted to highlight a couple things that have happened in the last 2.5 years while we were running down the halls yelling and out traveling. The loan section approved $87 million, 25 of those loans totaling $25 million. The climate action plan was completed. ALP with Chatfield was given a record of decision, and many, many hours were gone into the contracting on that. Thank you, Tom Browning. New appropriations of in-stream flows and water plan. That includes 180 miles of appropriated stream. We implemented the historic Colorado River pulse flow within Mexico to allow reach the sea. We initiated a drought contingency plan river to respond to the extended drought. We continued management of the invasive phreatophyte control program, the Colorado Healthy Rivers Fund, the Colorado Watershed Restoration Program, and the Fish and Wildlife Resources Fund. We dealt with the 2013 floods, as you all know, and I think we all know how important CWCB was to the recovery of that. In 2014, the CWCB was the first to use radars to make volumetric water. We continued the Colorado Hazard Mapping Program, which involves 29 communities, counties, and other entities, and covers over miles. And I think it's important to recognize what still went on while working on the water plan, because that's as integral to Colorado's water future. I also think the 30,000 commenters. This plan wouldn't be what it was without them. There are recognizable changes due to those comments, and we thank you for that. Those who got in front of their computers, those who went out door to door and collected letters, those who initiated email campaigns, those made a difference. To the basin roundtables and the multiple volunteer hours that goes into that, and the patient plans alone, and the hundreds and thousands of hours that went into that. The IBCC, the Interbasin Compact Committee, thank you, Director Stolp, for guiding us with that, and the framework that has also the subcommittees associated with the conservation stretch goal. The other state agencies, we didn't do this alone, and we tried not to go into it blindly, but CDPHE, DOLA, I know I'm missing some, all of DNR, those that came before us. There was a precedent set. The Colorado River Compact is an example of that. Our mentors, our leaders, but most especially this board in front of us who guided us and directed us and really pushed and were sometimes mean. You know who you are. But we couldn't have done it without that, and without that direction we wouldn't have gotten where we are today. And I'm hoping you enjoy the plan that's set in front of you, but more importantly, I hope that it makes a difference for the state of Colorado. I'm proud of the work that we've done. I'm proud of the team sitting next to me and the team back at the office. I've never worked with such a professional group of people. It wasn't nothing great is. It's my honor to make the staff's recommendation to the board to adopt Colorado's water plan and authorize Director Eklund to deliver the first final of Colorado's water plan to John W. Hickenlooper, Governor of the state of Colorado. And we can open for discussion.
Thank you, Becky and Jacob and Kate and Brent. Really appreciate your comments and your summary, and the video was really great. I didn't have the best viewing point from here, but I'll look at it again, I'm sure. I think the next order of business is to call for a motion of acceptance of the staff's recommendation, and it's never like this, you know. But I see Director George's hand was among the first to go up. So Director George.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Colorado Water Conservation Board adopt Colorado's water plan and authorize Director Eklund to deliver the first final draft of Colorado's water plan to John W. Hickenlooper, Governor of the state of Colorado.
Thank you, Director George. I assume there's a second, and Director Wells.
Yes, Madam Chair. I second the motion to approve the staff recommendation with a great sense of pride and admiration for the accomplishments of our staff in this board and everyone else who's been involved.
Thank you. At this time, I will ask if there are comments or discussion from the board members. Director McLeod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will have comments, as I'm sure my colleagues on the board will today, but now, Madam Chair, I'm prepared to vote.
And I see that goes for the rest of the board. So if there are no further comments, we have the motion before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion is adopted. Congratulations. Now, Becky, before you go, I have to tell you and James that the board did have another plan that possibly no one would make a motion, or if there were a motion, it would die for a lack of a second. But just to give you a little idea of what our antics were, but this is a quite serious moment, and we appreciate all your hard work. So thank you all again. I know that everyone on the staff has been involved in this and participated. I especially want to thank the members who participated in all the roundtable meetings. Our roundtable in the South Platte was very active. It seemed like for several years we didn't have an awful lot of direction on where we were going, but this plan really set us in motion, and really the people in our basin came together and really worked hard to identify what the needs are in the basin, what our supplies are, and looking to the future, what we need to accomplish. So with that, Director Eklund, I want to ask you if you have any comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I surely do, but I appreciate the moment and the timing that we have to consider here today. So what I'll do is explain where we'll head next. So thank you, Becky and Kate and Jacob and Brent. Fantastic job. Congratulations, Mr. Speaker and Patty for the second. This board couldn't be prouder of you, and we're going to have a media event here at 10 o'clock. So we'll with your permission, Madam Chair, go into recess to set up for that. And maybe so you can get a better vantage point on that video, we can roll the video while we're setting up for the media event at 10.
Great. Thank you. With that, we'll be in recess until the governor gets here. I'd like you all to kind of watch out for that, because this little bell is the caution. It means to get to your seat, and a gavel means it's time to go to work. So with that, we'll be in recess.